to be a casual conversation from storyteller to storyteller. So, um, I started following you from the work that you've been doing, that you did with Vice, and I know you said you edited a lot of the storytelling, but we're gonna jump kind of forward in your career. Um, Tell me, about the work that you did with Vice and kind of what those preparation meetings and things were like as you guys were starting to create what Vice looks like today.
Yeah, I mean, I was there a long time. So I started there in 2015, I think. And that was when we were in the old office in North Williamsburg and we had this deal with HBO and we were doing the weekly 30-minute HBO show with them. So I was a finishing editor for that show. And then we expanded to this larger office in South Williamsburg. And then we started there was all this money and more people and all this stuff happening. And there's this high valuations and just like people in the office all the time, like suits and all kinds of weird things happening. And then we got this nightly news show on HBO, which was Vice News Tonight. And I was working as a finishing editor on that as well. And then editing a bunch of things for digital, for Vice.com and Motherboard and Munchies and all these different verticals that we had. And then mainly focused on Vice News Tonight for HBO, which was our nightly news show with them. So I worked in the control room for a while, editing a bunch of these stories, and then started editing some of the longer form stories, and then went on from there to work on our Showtime show a bit, and then our Tubi feature docs. So really every type of format and genre that we did at some point or another, because I was there for 9 years.
You've
Um,
seen the evolution, you've seen the transition of what digital has really the impact that it's made, yeah, on
yeah,
storytelling for sure.
definitely. Yeah. And like we started as a very digital forward business. Like before I was there, Vice was kind of like doing early YouTube things, and kind of doing these like digital documentaries. And then they got this big deal with HBO and all these other things happened from there. But they started as a very digital forward company. And I mean, now, unfortunately, they kind of imploded about a year ago and went bankrupt, and most of us got laid off. And now it's kind of just Shane Smith doing weird podcasts on his own. So the brand has kind of devolved, unfortunately. But at its peak, it was really an incredible place to be and to work and to make stories. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, what is the role of a finishing editor? Are you one of the ones that's sitting behind the computer, throughout the day and night, piecing together the story? What does that involve?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so a finishing editor, I was doing a lot of the final notes, addressing notes on a lot of things, adding in final graphics, subtitles, all those like final finessing things that you need for a story. And I did that for a few years, but then by and large, I've been an editor in that, like, I'll be taking all the raw footage that they shoot in the field and helping craft that into a story, into a final documentary, and working with a producer to tell the story, to craft it, to structure it, to finesse it, to score it, all that sort of thing.
Did you
Um,
start your storytelling process with film and video, or did it start with the written?
yeah, I've actually always been more visual, so more like documentary video focused than like editorial, like writing. Um, Although we certainly, as video editors, we do a fair amount of writing when it comes to documentary because a lot of the time there isn't a script per se. There might be a
Yes,
loose
yes.
outline. So you're kind of doing writing visually and coming up with the story as you're combing through hours of footage or verite or whatever it is.
So the skill of storytelling when it comes to videos, right? What skills do you think, especially as a finishing editor, because you're really at the tail end, what skills do you possess to kind of be able to finish the story, tie it up in a bow and have it t go to we say go to press, but go to video,
Right. Yeah,
push
right. To
push,
air.
produce, right?
Sure.
Publish, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Publish. Yeah, I mean, as a finishing editor, it's really more so just catching any mistakes, any errors. Like it's a lot of attention to detail and kind of just like proofreading everything, making sure everything flows, everything works, there's no errors in it. But editing is really what I prefer doing and is what I've done more of. And that is really the full storytelling that you would find in if you were writing a long form article. It's the same type of storytelling but visual, in that you're really starting from scratch and trying to like rough out the structure and build out the acts and kind of figure out like, all right, what's our cold open, what's our beginning, how are we going to get people in, and then building out the thesis, and then having, wrapping it all up. So I find that to be the more satisfying, or the more challenging when it comes to storytelling and actually like creating a structure.
I, did a documentary on Langston Hughes in 2001,
Oh,
and that's
cool.
what really made me consider myself a documentarian because I sold it and everything to stars.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it was a great experience, and I guess what I found mostly about what I really loved about documentaries is that, you start off thinking that you have one story, and then as you go into interview people and talk to people, it turns out to be something completely new. So, have you kinda mastered the skill of just kinda creation as you're watching these interviews? Because you're not doing the interview, you're not producing the interview. Yeah, you're actually
Right.
have you
No,
kinda
I
honed that process?
definitely not mastered, but always honing and trying to improve and trying to make it better. But I think you're right. And what you said kind of touches on something I've heard before, and I'm probably going to mess it up. But to paraphrase, it's like when you make a documentary, it's sort of like three different films, like the film that you pitch, the film that you shoot, and then the film that you actually make, because all things, there's so many X factors and things change throughout. So you never really know what you're going to get, and what, you might get some amazing detail that you thought was irrelevant that ended up being really important to support what you're trying to tell. Or an interview might go left and be a whole different thing than what you thought, or a scene might be a whole different thing than what you thought. So yeah, I think like being flexible and just continuing to look at the story and the characters and trying to find the moments that both support the thesis or support what you pitched and the story you're trying to tell, and also moments where you can find things that add color or texture to the characters and kind of bring the story to life, and connect with the viewer. I think those are the important elements of it.
You have done storytelling from video to YouTube to now you mentioned TikTok and Snapchat. What is your process? Have you ever sat down and written a process of boom, this is what I do first, this is what I do second, da da da. Have you, or is it just always organic?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the project is and what the producer wants to do, how hands-on they want to be. But if someone just says, here's a bunch of footage, have at it, I usually, which does sometimes happen, not terribly often, but sometimes. And
And
like
they
in
give
those,
you a year, right? Right.
yeah, exactly. They give you a bunch of time, but like no one has time or budget anymore, so that's rare. But if those things happen, um, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I try to organize everything and just have it all organized by day and by shoot, so I have a sense of what they were shooting, what they were intending to shoot, what they actually shot, and then I
What does
watch.
organization look like for you, Jeb? Be specific, tell me.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like syncing all the cameras, making sure that I have all the relevant cameras for a given scene, making sure that I'm not missing anything that they shot, making sure that everything for each story beat I have in one place. So that way I can have all the footage that they shot relevant to that one beat in one place. And I'm not, missing a camera or a great drone shot or a great whatever that they had somewhere. So that's kind of the organization of it, and
Yeah,
breaking it down into days and interviews and B-roll and verite. So kind of like breaking it down into different sequences. And then from there,
gotcha.
I try to, if I have the time, I try to watch every single thing that they shot. And then as I go through, I'll put markers down on moments that I find interesting or that we might want to use, or really good bites or a beautiful shot that we might want to use as B-roll, whatever. So then I'll kind of watch everything if I have the time, and mark selects and highlights and moments that I want to use in the film. And then from there, then once you've seen everything that they've shot, you can start to kind of craft the story and look at what they pitched and what their outline is and how they want to do it, and see if you can make it work that way, if we need to restructure it, and look at acts, and yeah, just kind of like beginning, middle, and end.
No, I love that. I mean, is it ever different? Is your process ever different for full feature documentaries versus, shorter term TV or especially YouTube? Are you still I mean, are you doing the same kind of process for each format or each platform?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, features, of course, are way more complicated just because of the length of them and the number of acts and the story you're trying to tell. Like, if you try to tell it the same way you would in a 20-minute piece for YouTube or a 10-minute piece for YouTube, it's not going to work, because yeah, it's just this larger amount of time to fill, and so you have to be more creative about it and think more about like the ebbs and flows in the narrative. Whereas with something shorter, you can kind of be more experimental, or you can you can have something that has a little less variety with pace and with structure, and it'll work because it's a short piece. Whereas with something long, you need to
Right.
think more about like the pacing and the ebbs and flows, and kind of like keeping the viewer engaged and not having it all be the same thing. Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of the main difference, for, at least for me, when I'm approaching something short versus a longer form piece.
I have this, I've been really blessed, Jeb, because a lot of my work has been in article writing and journalism,
Mm,
but I'm starting to pitch now. Someone would say, "Oh, write an article," and I'll say, "Oh, let's do a video." I'll just
yeah,
kind of instinctively, so I can raise the price, obviously,
right.
but also I just want to capture everything on video now. So
That's great.
I just got a gig with the Kellogg Foundation, and I'm doing a series of interviews with a lot of their grantees, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, they're not the most attractive looking people. They don't, they're not. I'm gonna be completely honest, but I want to use their voices because the inflections of their voices are beautiful, right?
Mm, mhm, yeah,
So,
that's
there's
funny.
especially their storytelling.
Right.
So, me as the producer of these videos, I'm trying to figure out how to communicate my ideas. Any suggestions? Because obviously they're a little different when you're talking to producers and you've watched all of this footage, right?
Mhm.
And your thought is a little different than, how do you communicate when your
Yeah.
ideas are different than someone else's, Jeb?
I mean, it's the same way you do in any relationship. It depends on the person, it depends on how you handle it, but, you have to kind of see how comfortable you are with the person, how honest you can be, or if you have to really sort of sugarcoat it. And sometimes, I mean, what you're saying, the first thing that I would think of is, like, use animation, use B-roll. If you don't wanna show these people's faces as much,
B-roll,
then
B-roll, yeah.
yeah, then use some archival or B-roll or animation, something to kind of cover it, and that way you still have their voices and their storytelling, but without their faces. But if you're trying to like pitch that to someone, then yeah, I think there are two ways. Like, there's a few ways to do it, but you can either be very honest if you're very comfortable with them, or if you're a little less comfortable with them or not as close with them, you can try to pitch some maybe questions to them and see if that can get you to where it needs to be, as opposed to saying it should be this way. You can say, well, what if we tried like this, or what if we did this? And then
Okay.
another idea, if you're really feeling like, oh, I really have to be careful with them, it's kind of sensitive, is I like to kind of show them how it is without the suggestion, and be like, oh, do you think this works? Like, do you feel like this works? And like show them, maybe in this case, the version with all their faces just as it is, and be like, does that look okay to you? And then you can say, I have this other idea.
Oh,
So I
I
try
love
to,
that idea, Jeff.
yeah, so
That's a great idea.
I'll edit it in a way that I don't think will work, but it's maybe how they want it. And so you show it to them and then say, oh, well, see, this is how it is, but maybe it doesn't really work this way. We could try to fix it, or make it better by doing this.
Support my ideas with the visuals, that's always helpful, right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
you
I think so.
kinda started your own company, you're going after your own clients, do you get to be a little bit more creative versus when you were at Vice, where you had a script and, you said the suits were coming in. Do you feel a little bit more creative where you have a bigger voice?
I don't like, Vice was actually really great, in many ways, because we were able to do a lot of what we wanted to do, and it wasn't, super formulaic or super, you could be very creative, which was great.
No, it became the formula. I mean, for
Yeah,
so many
that's true.
others, like,
That's
so
true.
many other videos, it became the form, especially in its rawness. I used to look at those videos and be like, "Wow, I can't believe that the interviewer would be in those situations,
Right. Oh my
still be
god.
able to."
I feel the same way. That's why I like sitting at home and, in front of my computer. They can go out there and risk their lives. I'll be here
But
editing it, but
but you were so riveted, yeah, and even the
yeah.
way the cuts were and the angles, and again, you set a trend, to know that you were the person that cutting those together. Yeah, in
One
how
of many, but
storytelling
yeah.
was told in a way, yeah. I can sit in my house and still be comfortable with watching this and still be completely riveted in what
Yeah. No, that's true. And it's funny you say
absolutely.
that, because like I feel, maybe I've been, I wouldn't say less creative, but I've almost feel like the clients I've had have largely picked me up because I worked at Vice for so long, so they want
Of
that Vice
course.
style. So I am in a way kind of still adhering to that Vice style documentary because that's what a lot of other companies are looking for. And they're like, oh, you worked there a long time. You know how to make that kind of thing. And so I
Yeah.
end up making that kind of thing, which is fine. I love making that kind of work. But yeah, so I wouldn't say like that I have more freedom now per se, but it's
What's
still,
what's
it's
different
great.
being
It's
the
different.
what's
Yeah.
different being the owner versus
Yeah.
an
It's true.
employee, right?
Yeah, I mean that's very true.
So, I mean, what type of projects are you working on now? You said they're like Vice, but what type of things are you cutting together now?
Yeah, I did my first true crime series that I have one episode out, and there's another couple coming. But it's called Interview with a Killer, and it's on Court TV. And I actually really enjoyed it because I've always been a fan of true crime, and I've never gotten to edit one. So that was super interesting. And then other than that, yeah, I've done a few things for scripts. They had a series called In Real Life, which was very Vice style, and I worked with a bunch of former Vice people on it. But it was a great show. Unfortunately, it got canceled after a few years on the air because of layoffs, and the media industry overall is not doing great, and journalism
Yeah.
in particular is struggling a bit. So
Oh, yeah, I know.
yeah, as
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure you
know.
know.
Well, we
So
we pivot. We kinda use our
right,
skills for other things, right?
exactly. Yeah, it's good to like diversify when you can, but yeah, I
Absolutely.
worked on that. So just like a lot of documentary type things and doing some things for Bloomberg now, which are in that same wheelhouse, but more economy focused, but in the same like style of storytelling. Yeah.
As a business owner, do you find that you have to spend your own money to kinda do the projects that you really wanna do? Are there other things out there that you would prefer to be doing, or you kinda
Yeah.
just
I
wanna
mean,
try?
yeah, there's always things that you'd rather be doing, of course, or like bigger goals or dreams that you might have. But I think I'm not really at the place where I'm spending my own money anymore to do things. I used to do that when I wasn't very happy with what I was doing. But ever since I started working at Vice, I stopped doing that because I really enjoyed what I was making at Vice. And so I didn't feel the need to spend money to make stuff on the side,
That's
and which
great.
is really cool. But
Yeah, that's
now
great.
I'd say now as like as a business owner, what I would do in that scenario, I'm not spending my own money, but I might be taking a way lower rate to make something that I really want to make, that I really care about, that maybe they don't have a ton of funding, but it's a really cool idea. And so that's kind of the
Absolutely.
situation. And then, I would do that and then maybe try to find another couple jobs that are shorter term and higher paying that can kind of help me, with day-to-day expenses, but still making this thing that I care about in the background. So yeah, it's kind of balancing things, balancing projects and clients and rates and things like that.
Absolutely. I see you're working with a bed and a chair in the background.
Yeah.
I always, I have this idea in my head, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but maybe you'll remember it, but the editor was a female. I think she was Cameron Diaz, but she worked from her house, and she used to do
Hmm.
movie trailers. Do you
Hmm.
remember that movie? She
I
was the
don't.
editor. I can't remember the
I
name
don't
of it,
know.
but I
There
always
are not many
envision.
movies about editors, so I'm curious. But
No, she was
uh,
the main, yeah, she was the main character, but she had this beautiful layout
huh,
in her home. She was editing, and she brought her crew in
no.
there, you know. I
I
can't
don't
remember the name of
remember.
it, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd be curious, but I don't know it.
do you have a studio set up in your crib, and, do you
Yeah,
kinda edit in a
basically.
dark room or
Yeah, yeah, no, not too dark of a room, but yeah, basically since 2020, because I worked in the office, my whole life, and then in 2020 we all got sent home, and kind of fortunately for me, we never had to come back, and I've been working remote since 2020, even now with different clients, and now that I'm not with Vice anymore, still working remote, which I love, honestly.
do you I
But
miss collaborate I kinda miss collaborating a little bit.
I hear you.
So I
Yeah,
do the WeWork spaces,
that's
sometimes just
cool.
to be around other
Is that where
folks.
you are now, or where are you at?
I am. I'm in
Nice.
Detroit, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the soundproofing behind you.
But
Um,
I would love to have something in my house. I just wanna create the space for it, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's been good. Just 'cause I have like a 3-year-old, and it's just good to be around for daycare reasons and like things like that. So it's helpful to not be going to like New York per se every day. I'm in New Jersey, so to like be commuting every day on a train
I
is not
understand,
fun.
I
But of
understand.
course, I miss like the thing I miss the most is just like happy hours with coworkers. And in those moments,
Yes,
sometimes you
yes.
crack the story. Sometimes you're drinking and you crack the story and you get to the thing you're trying to get to, and then you come the next day and fix it. But But I miss that.
Absolutely.
I miss the like, the social element of it for sure.
Absolutely. When I worked at Essence, I kinda missed, I would gripe about having to go in every day, but now that I don't, I missed the collaborating because it's like I can't be the only one coming up with ideas. My brain is only so limited.
Right. Oh, I hear you 100%. No, you
Right,
need
every
people.
idea that I have is just great, right?
Approved, no notes. Yeah, it's
Right.
like you need someone else to
Uh,
bounce things off of. That's
you
true.
do, you do. So the last question, the last series of questions that I have is really about advice. You mentioned that you have a 3-year-old, and I know you work from home. How do you unwind when you have these headphones on and you're glued to your
Oh
screen
my
all
god.
day? How do you
Yeah.
unwind?
That's a
Was that a
great
good
that's
question?
a
How do you
great question.
self-care? How do you
I
self-care?
alcohol, working out. Yeah, I try to like work out in the mornings. That's like really good to just like get move your body because I'm sitting all day and like strapped in with headphones in front of a screen. So I try to do something physical at least once a day or take a good long walk, whatever. I have a dog too, so like going for a good long walk. And then, yeah, I tend to have a drink at the end of the day and watch something that has nothing to do with work and is something that I just enjoy and just try to like turn my brain off a bit and just or get inspiration from something that I've been wanting to watch and I haven't had a chance. But that doesn't have to do with work, but it's just a separate thing, a different documentary or series or whatever movie, even some dumb reality TV, something fun to just
I
get my
love
brain
that.
or
I
read,
love
of course, reading a book, reading the New Yorker or whatever, anything to kind of get your brain out of
And you
this
notice
space.
it'll spark something, right? It'll definitely
Definitely.
spark something.
Yeah.
I have a 16-year-old Jeb,
Oh, wow. Oh my
and she
gosh.
edits on, like,
Oh, cool.
she
Love that
does
she
these little,
edits.
what is the video she does? Star something, I can't remember.
Okay.
Snap not Snapchat, but,
Mm.
CapCut.
CapCut.
CapCut
Oh,
is
I
her
don't know what it
video.
is. Okay.
So, I'm buying her an iMac
Oh,
because I want her
nice.
and I'm gonna do the we were just talking in the car today. I said, Adobe has this deal on, it's
They
$23 a
do.
month.
Yep.
So,
They had that Black Friday deal.
what advice, Jeb, would you give me? I really would love for her to really dig deep into editing because I know it's not a lot of women, I know it's not a lot of
That's
Black
true.
women.
That's true.
So, help me to push her.
Oh my god.
What
Well,
advice?
I just love that you're doing it. The fact that you're buying her an iMac and trying to get her on this Premiere deal is like that's already incredible. That's huge. Like you're starting her off, you're equipping her right. But yeah, I guess just making sure that she has someone she can like maybe if she has a friend or you, someone who knows editing that
I
can
don't edit though,
yeah,
I
yeah, okay.
can't, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a storyteller, Jeb, but I'm not
Right.
professional editor by no means, yeah,
Got it. So more like editorial, like writing. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I
yeah.
guess like I mean she must have a friend
So
or someone.
get her a
That's what
mentor.
I'm trying to say because you're going to come into things where you have questions or you want to either it's a technical question or creative question or you want to bounce your edit off someone. Finding people that can help you and that way you won't get turned off, like you'll get past the roadblocks and then once you get into it it is a real bug and you kind of I mean I'm addicted to it, I love it, I really enjoy editing and I have
How did you
for
get that
many
gig
years.
advice? That's such a great I mean, how did you get it? Did you have a
Yeah,
portfolio? What did you do? What
a lot of it is just knowing people, which I know is tough when you're starting out, like your daughter when you're young. It's hard because you don't know people yet who are doing it. But I didn't know people at her age, and I just edited things when I was her age. I would shoot things with my friends on like mini DV cameras and edit them at home on my computer, and they were like silly, but it just kind of like got me into it and taught me how to do it. And yeah, just meeting people. I met someone who worked at Vice, and I was working in reality TV at the time and she just messaged me that they needed a finishing editor and if I was interested. And that's like kind of how I've gotten most jobs I've gotten in my however many years, 15 years of working, has been through people I know because it's such a competitive industry and you get so many people applying that it's difficult and like actually knowing someone who's there helps you get in the door and at least get in front of someone to interview or to show them your work. Um,
believe it or not, that's how when I worked at BET, TV1,
yeah.
MTV, it was
So you
'cause
were
of,
at Viacom in New York at some point, or yeah,
I had done the documentary and a friend of mine knew, a producer and she was like, "I need somebody as a production coordinator," and I was like, "I don't know," I didn't know what that was, but
but you learned.
she got that's how I got in the door, and I followed her through so many different TV shows through but yeah, I would love for Nia to really have the skills to be an editor. So, do you think Adobe Premiere, I mean, is that
Yeah.
the one that she should learn and
I definitely recommend that as a good place to be. I've been on Premiere for 9 years now, and everything I've cut freelance in the past year has been Premiere. I'm gonna be doing an Avid project next year, but, Avid is really more old school, and it's like a lot of older editors or, like, legacy shows use it, and features use it more so than Premiere, I think. But it's less user friendly, and I think Premiere is, like, a great starting point, for her.
okay.
And
Okay.
like, by all means, like you can connect her to me, or if she ever like has a question or like wants to show a cut or something, like I'm happy to at least
Don't
take a
tell
look.
me,
Or
Ted, because I
I
will. Don't tell
I know, but I mean
So,
it because
even on
I
your
think it's
phone,
cool.
when you're
I think it,
cutting
yeah.
short videos on your phone, you still using Adobe products?
No, so I don't edit anything on my phone. I know that there's a whole world of people that do that, but I am about to be 40 and I just never learned to do
What?
that. I just never did that. I always edited on a computer. And so I never understood like the phone editing. I don't really know the operating systems for phone editing. I don't know how it all
Oh,
works.
you're just professional. You're just a
Yeah.
professional, right?
Well, I'm trying to be. I don't know. But
So,
so
well,
I don't know. I can't speak to like TikTok videos or phone. I've edited things that were intended for like Instagram or something, but I cut them on my computer and then I just format it to be vertical so it can be distributed on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But
okay,
yeah, so I can't help her with that. But yeah, with actual
last
Premiere, sure.
question. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
when you go after clients, I mean, what are you sending them as your work? Are you putting it in like a portfolio presentation? What do you
Yeah. So if someone reaches out or if I'm trying to get something, I have my website. So it's just my name.com and it's a thing I built on Squarespace and it just has a big portfolio where you have all my documentaries I made and TV shows I made and all in one place and you can just watch them with one click. And so, yeah, I just kind of
okay,
made like
okay.
a site with all my stuff on it with thumbnails so people can just easily watch all the different things. And most of them connect to like YouTube or Vimeo and yeah, so that's kind of what I would send people and a resume. And some people ask for a reel, but it's not very common with editing.
Yeah, you say you haven't done a reel in years. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no real need. Like
Absolutely.
the work kind of speaks for itself, hopefully. But
Absolutely. Jim,
yeah.
it's been so great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
I really,
You
really
seem great.
appreciate
Yeah,
your
thanks for reaching
time.
out. And that's awesome that you watched Vice and, paid attention to that for a little while back when we
Yes,
were
yes,
making
yes.
good
I
things
mean, I
and
have
not doing.
ulterior motives. I'm trying to do more video, and I just watch
Yeah,
a lot of Vice because of the storytelling, the way you guys cut stuff together. So,
that's
by
awesome.
all means, you have done so much to enhance my career, everything. So
Uh,
I appreciate you. I'm gonna
no.
cut this together and put like a little promo together on YouTube, and the
Okay.
whole video is gonna live on the Stylist Suite website. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's so nice to meet you. You seem
Absolutely. Have a
wonderful.
good one.
You too. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.